Both the sexual orientation and the sexual identity, they arise very early in life, before puberty, and they are basically irreversible. So that's why I'm saying in my book they are constitutional. They're part of what you are. And we don't know exactly if it's genes or hormones or brain. We don't have a clear idea. About gender identity, we have some indications that's in the brain by studies in Amsterdam by Dick Swab. But in general, I say it's constitutional. It's part of who you are. And so you shouldn't be trying to change it. It's a bit like trying to change someone who's left-handed into right-handed. Those are sort of disastrous projects, you know? And so it's important there is some biology involved, no doubt, but we don't know exactly what. And it is interesting that the LGBTQ community has embraced biology for that part. So they will say, I'm born that way, you know, that's how they say it. But at other gender issues, biology is not embraced at all. You know, if you look at the gender studies at the university, they have not embraced biology the way I think they should be. So there's a sort of ambivalence there, which has to do with ideology. It's like biology is welcome in that area because you can use it as an argument that you cannot be changed. And in other areas, it's not welcome. And I feel biology should be part of that whole discussion, regardless, you know.
Absolutely, 100%. And you talk about Simon LeVay in your book. I remember I had him come speak for me at Caltech. You spoke for us at Caltech too. And this was at the time when there was this push by the gay community to make sure it's clear it's not a lifestyle choice. They were born that way, and therefore there should be some biological markers. And he had, you know, the gay brain, was it the hippocampus where there were some straight men versus gay men? And he put this slide up, you know, like a neurological slide of neurons from a gay brain and a straight brain. I think it was in the hippocampus. He said, you can clearly see here this massive difference, and everybody's looking at like, where? It's hard to see the difference, you know. And it was like, okay.
Because these areas are very small, like the one for gender identity that Dick Swab discovered. I think it's as big as a grain of rice or something. I mean, these are not big areas of the brain, and so there is still quite a bit of doubt. I would say I'm not a neuroscientist, but I don't think we're all in agreement of how these things work, and a lot needs to be discovered. But it is clear that it is constitutional in the sense that once it arises, let's say the gender identity is different from the sex you're born with. Once that arises, it very often is not reversible.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Shermer here for The Michael Shermer Show. My guest today is the great Frans de Waal, the primatologist, with his 13th book out called Different: Gender Through the Eyes of a Primatologist. Frans has been named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. He is the C.H. Chandler Professor in Emory University Psychology Department and Director of the Living Link Center at the Yerkes National Primate Research Center he lives in. So Frans and I discuss sex and gender in humans, primates, and mammals, the difference between who you identify as versus who you're attracted to, again, not just in humans, but in primates, binary versus non-binary versus a continuum, that is, how fuzzy can human sex categories be for a sexually reproducing species like ours, or for that matter, other species, particularly primates, gender differences in physical and mental characteristics, how would homosexuality evolve, chimpanzees and bonobos and their differences, sexual signals, what is the purpose, for example, of orgasms in women or nipples in men, myths of the demure female, the purpose, if there is any, to rape, why would that have evolved? Does it have to do with sex or power or both? Murder and human violence, dominance and power, rivalry, friendship, competition and cooperation, maternal and paternal care of the young, same-sex sex. As you'll see, this gets pretty interesting with bonobos, particularly. And then finally, mind-body dualism, and Frans's idea that this all goes back to Descartes and this split between mind and body, and that we have this kind of dualism worldview that makes it difficult to understand a lot of human behavior in the context of all primate behavior. All right, and we are live. Frans de Waal, nice to see you. How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, last time I saw you was, I think, at an airport or something. That's what I remember.
Well, you've been on the show before, but yes, that's right. I ran into you. I think it was like the Toronto airport, and you were in line ahead of me, a couple of rows in those zigzagging lines. And there was, if I recall, I think I was reading like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. There was a review. It was either of one of your books or by you, and there you were. It was so funny. So the new book is different. Congratulations. I counted them up. This is your 13th book. Lucky number 13. Yeah. We're recording this on the day that, as you know, the U.S. Supreme Court document apparently was leaked that they may vote to overturn Roe v. Wade. So everybody is talking about that. So I just thought I'd get your opinion on that, since it's kind of the elephant in the room at the moment, at least today. Are there any primate examples of something like that, infanticide or whatever? And since you're from Holland, how do Northern European countries handle this abortion issue compared to the United States?
Oh, it takes me back to the 1970s. My wife is French, and we would receive French women by train coming from Paris to Amsterdam. And we would receive them in the Netherlands because abortion was illegal in France still, and it was already legal in the Netherlands. And these women were very scared because they would arrive and they would think there would be police or it would be illegal. It was completely legal what they were doing. They were going to a hospital, and they were very nervous about it. And we thought it was so sad that they had to travel so far to get a legal abortion. And I think the US is heading that way at the moment, that people have to travel and be scared to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know what the laws are going to be in Georgia. Do you happen to know what they're planning on doing if it gets overturned?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't ban abortions nationally. It just turns it back to the states. And so different states have different laws. As I read it, about half are going to continue allowing abortions, and about half will ban them either altogether or just after 6 weeks, something like that, up to 6 weeks. But you're asking the connection with the primates is, of course, male control over female reproduction. If we put it much more general, in the primates we don't have a surgical abortion or a pill abortion, but male control over female reproduction, that's definitely a goal of many males in the animal world, is to be in charge of this, and I think that's the bigger picture, is that the men of this country have decided that they are in charge of the bodies of women. So there is a big gender issue here, and I think it's highly problematic, and to me it sounds like the Middle Ages, but that's where we are at the moment. Yeah. Of course, they don't say that. If you ask a pro-lifer what their arguments are, they don't say, we want to control women's bodies. I mean, they'll say something like, well, it's a human life and you're killing a human life. It's murder. And therefore, the state has an interest in stopping murders.
Sure. Yeah. They have all sorts of good arguments, but it's still the controlling women. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's one of my three major arguments against the pro-life position in favor of pro-choice, is that historically men have always lorded it over women and controlling their sexuality, who they have sex with, and that's always been the case in other areas too. Men are bigger, stronger, and so on. And so part of the point of having a Leviathan state is to put controls over male violence. And that's been good. That's been a good thing for civilization. I mean, it's as Pinker notes, it's led to the reduction of violence and across the board. And that would be one more example of that. And as you know, in evolutionary psychology, they talk about mate guarding and jealousy evolved so that men can control women. That's the whole point. So the whole point of civilization is we got to push back against that.
But people often say that the natural order is that males dominate females. And some people even believe that the size difference, that men are bigger than women and stronger, And in the other primates, it's even more extreme. Like in the gorilla, it's even the male is twice the size of the female. People often think that male size has to do with controlling women. That's the goal of why the males are bigger. But it has nothing to do with it. The studies that have been done on correlating behaviors in the primates and other species find that male size and the sexual dimorphism has especially to do with male competition, male-male competition. So the more male-male competition, the bigger males grow, because then they are more successful in that competition. That they control and dominate females is sort of secondary. That's not the main goal in life. The goal is to compete well with other males. And so when people say the natural order is that males dominate females and that's why males are bigger and so on, I think they have it wrong. And in addition, in my book, of course, I explained that we have two close relatives who have a very different arrangement between the sexes. And so even for our two closest relatives, it's not such a simple picture that males control females.